So welcome Christopher and Ian to our How to Execute workshop. How to execute the 4 disciplines of converting strategic intent into an operational reality. We will be going forward, we'll be finishing at just before 2 o'clock. And if you have any questions, just come off mute and give us a shout, and I'll certainly deal with them. We've got a relatively small group today, so that should be fine. Let's quickly start off as to why execution. What is execution? So this time of year is really important. I'm guessing that for you guys, maybe you work to a financial year of April 1st. And it's usually this time of year where people start to develop their strategies, and they start to develop some wonderful objectives and goals and things like that. And as we get into April and May, all this is great, but the problem is that actually things just don't get done. I guess the passing from the high level to the middle level to maybe the slightly staff level isn't really working. We have a gap often between objective setting and delivering results. And that's really what execution is. It's the conversion of that strategic intent into an operational reality. It's getting stuff done at the next level, or the discipline, art and science of getting things done. Translating those sort of top goals, if you like, into frontline actions, but most importantly, those actions into results. That's what execution is. And for us, as managers and leaders of our organizations, to me, it's the most important, I guess, measure of whether you're successful or not. I was on an investment panel recently where one of the investors said, when he was making a decision on how much he should or should not invest, he said, "I'd much rather invest into an A-grade team with a C-grade idea than an A-grade team with a C-grade idea." And I think that's the thing, interestingly, in terms of that's the difference, really. A bit like Premiership football management, or even rugby. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, people aren't going to judge you on how hard you worked, how many hours you put in, whether you're a nice person. Ultimately, people will judge you and your success on whether you got stuff done. So what that means for you is that this topic of execution ultimately becomes your whole tilting point for the year. And in terms of how we deal with it, in terms of strategy and doing stuff, for me, the best people and the most successful people actually bake in execution, how they're going to do it, into the strategy itself, into the plan. And what they do on that is regularly review that plan. They use it as their vehicle for coaching people to help them do what they've got to do. And it's kind of, I guess, the fairest way to judge people's performance as well. People in your team, as well as you. Did you do what you said you were going to do? Execution. Now, the first thing I would also say is, with regard to execution today, is we're not just talking about your execution, we're talking about the business's execution. Because certainly in smaller, fast growth businesses, what I find is that when we talk about execution, getting stuff done, then some people misinterpret that as, I guess, as a sign to work harder and longer hours. And I can tell you that's not the answer. For some of us, we don't have an off switch. I get it. Parkinson's law means our work expands to fill any time available for its completion. And whilst we maybe do a task and get really productive, all that means is that we have more to do. We take on more, and then we have to work harder, and then we become more productive, and then we take on more, and we have to work harder. And it's a never-ending road, really. It isn't the long-term sustainable way of doing execution, though, you doing more. I know I've suffered from it myself, and I don't have an off switch. So when things got busier, I needed to get more stuff done. I worked longer into the night. And then when it wasn't quite getting everything done, I got up earlier, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, just to start to do more stuff. And then that wasn't enough. So I started to do weekends and then bank holidays, and started missing important dates like birthdays and my kids' nativity plays and stuff like that. And from my point of view, it was the wrong thing to do. What we've got to do is actually spend less time doing and more time designing and delegating. Otherwise, you'll become the constraint and it'll end up sort of wrecking your life. What we want to do is build a business, grow a business, but, you know, in the right way. So you working harder and longer isn't the way. So why don't important things get done? Let's watch a little quick 2-minute video on why things, breakthroughs for your strategy, maybe for this year's strategy, why don't they get done? Let's have a quick look.
He never thought execution would be so difficult. After all, the people in his organization work for him. Nobody else is paying them. When he was in business school, they never even studied execution. They studied strategy. He's been into his plan almost a year. And if he's honest with himself, not much has really changed. So why does this always feel so much harder than it ought to? Because of the enormous amount of energy required to maintain the operation, the day job, what we call the whirlwind, will suffocate the activities needed to execute on the strategy. Think about the strategies that you've seen fail. How do they die? Do they come crashing down with a loud noise, or do they die slowly, quietly smothered by the day job? You see, his people aren't stupid or lazy or defiant. The problem is they are busy with what they call the real work. He has also made the mistake, like most creative, ambitious leaders, of trying to pursue too many goals at the same time. And as the numerous priorities become jumbled within the whirlwind, his people lose sight of where they stand. They measure everything, but the numbers are after the fact, lag measures. He feels like he's driving a car by looking out the rearview mirror. His managers spend their days either battling the whirlwind or praying over lag measures. So as people return to their day job, having lost sight of the strategy, they are clearly playing not to lose rather than playing to win. Actually, he is not a bad leader, but he is losing to the whirlwind, and it is his fault. There are rules for executing in the face of the whirlwind, and unknowingly he is ignoring those rules. But they're not ignoring him. There are rules for executing in the face of the whirlwind. 4 of them, to be exact.
Okay, so I wonder how many of us are familiar with that sort of sinking feeling that nothing's really getting done, but everybody's very busy. And often they're busy doing what they call, as they've said there, the day job, the real work. But I guess as growth businesses like you guys are, and we are, that every year, usually around April the 1st or just before, there's some breakthroughs we've got to do. There's some new things we've got to do. We're always constantly improving, looking at new markets, getting a breakthrough in our production or our operations side, maybe raising some funding, maybe doing something really interesting in terms of on the people side. But there's always new breakthroughs, and they've got to be done, as well as dealing with the whirlwind of everyday work. Now, if that whirlwind is particularly difficult, then maybe the answer is to recruit some people. That might be one way of doing it. Or the other way is to also think about how you're dealing with execution. And then we've got these 4 disciplines. And disciplines are things that are, I guess when you think about discipline, I don't know what images come to your mind, but maybe it's a sergeant major on a parade ground shouting at someone, or maybe it's a parent shouting at a kid or something like that, or maybe it's a religious discipline. I guess disciplines are about doing something in certain ways that are difficult to do now for a payoff in the future. So putting up with some discomfort, shall we say now, so that we do things easier and better in the future, whatever that might be. So our 4 disciplines are, first of all, number 1, narrow that focus to what's wildly important. Second discipline is to convert lofty whats into doable hows. Third thing is keep a compelling scoreboard. The fourth thing is creating a culture of accountability. Say what you do what you say. So these are the 4 disciplines we're going to be focusing on today in the next 45 minutes. So let's crack on with the first one. The first one is to do with narrowing your focus on your wildly important goals. So what tends to happen in growth businesses is that people get goals or objectives at the start of the year, and they work on them and they try and get them right. And sometimes they're not measurable and sometimes they're a bit woolly, but they have maybe 3 or 4 and they're really important. Yeah, they're really important. And then maybe even within the first few months, something else happens and, oh, we need you to do this. So, oh, you kind of got another objective there and another goal and maybe another one. And before we know it, there's just loads of goals all over the place. People become confused. Whereas at the start of the year, what we really want to do is to be very clear on what our goals are for our business, our strategy, our breakthroughs and our business as usual, but what are the really important goals this year? And everybody in the business needs to know those. We call those our wildly important goals. And sure, everything's important. Yeah. I get that. But some things, maybe 2 or 3 things for your business for this year are wildly important. And when I say that, I mean that if those don't get done, frankly, nothing else matters. Any achievement of any other goal or objective is basically irrelevant if you don't get these 2 or 3 wildly important goals. So we narrow our focus on these areas. Steve Jobs said, people think focus means saying yes to the thing you've got to focus on. But that's not what it means at all. It means saying no to 100 other good ideas that there are. You have to pick carefully. I'm actually as proud of the things we haven't done as the things I have done. Innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. And that's kind of it, isn't it? I mean, we're in small to medium-sized businesses ourselves, but in a small, fast-growing businesses, from my point of view, I've only just started to accept the fact that, there's always going to be more good ideas at the start of the year than there is capacity to execute. There's always going to be more good ideas than there is the capacity to execute. And whilst it is counterintuitive to people, high growth leaders like yourself and me, to say no to a good idea, but there's no bigger destroyer of focus than always saying yes to everything. I guess the other thing that I'd say at this point in time is that, probably you're quite familiar with the Pareto 80-20 analysis. So that typically speaking, 80% of your results will come from 20% of your activities, or 20% of your time will generate 80% of your results. And that's kind of it, isn't it? I guess the one thing that we all have in common, whether it's Steve Jobs or Richard Branson or Christopher or Ian or me, Steve, the one leveler that we've all got in common is the same amount of hours and minutes in a day. There's 24 hours in every day, and that's everybody's got the same amount of time. But some people, Steve Jobs as an example, seem to do remarkably well with their allocation. They seem to leverage it in a lot different way than I do, certainly. And I guess if you think about the logic of that, then all you can come to is that they pick the right things to do and they focus on them and get those bigger things done. Whereas for many of us, we spend a lot of time spinning lots of different plates, some of which we don't really need to be spinning in the first place. So we all have the same amount of time to actually get things done. So it's what we choose to do is really important. We have to narrow our focus. So from our point of view, if we were at the start of the year, which we are for some businesses, and possibly like yourselves, picking what breakthroughs we want to do this year, but rather than picking loads and loads and setting loads of hairs running, we really narrow it down to the ones that are wildly important. What are the wildly important goals for your business or for your team this year? As I say, wildly important means that, frankly, if you don't get those 2 or 3 things done, nothing else matters. Everything else is a bit irrelevant. What would they be for you? Maybe there's something to do with customers and markets or breakthroughs. So if you're an MD, you have to look across all these 4 areas. Customers and markets to do with customers, process improvements to do with breakthroughs, maybe people or structure breakthroughs, and maybe funding or finance breakthroughs. I guess these are the sort of 4 that we see the most. And within those, then there's a whole, I guess, next level down of breakthroughs. And depending on what your role is in the business, you might have at that level, or you might be down at that level, or maybe even a level lower. The sort of breakthroughs we see some of the high growth businesses on the Accelerated Growth Program pick are maybe to do with customers and markets, could be maybe a big increase in sales this year from a new market segment or region. Maybe a big increase in sales from some existing customers. That's the easiest way to win more sales, is to sell more to existing customers. But, you know, we're all too busy trying to generate new contracts. We forget about that. What about sales breakthrough from a new product, or maybe from an overseas market like exporting? On your process improvement breakthroughs, operationals, this could be about improvements in a particular key operational process or a new supplier partner. Maybe a big significant cost reduction, or maybe even technology automation, or possibly at the moment, one thing that's really popular at the moment is to do with emissions reduction. Third area could be to do with people or structures, in terms of maybe you need to recruit some really key new members to your team. Maybe that's your wildly important goal, or performance management or restructuring. Well, finally, if you're at an MD sort of level, the 4th area that it could include, I suppose, is to do with funding or finance. So it could be about securing debt, equity, maybe just improving your cash position, boosting profitability. So what we see often is that from a list like this, and you might have other things to add to this, maybe a technology breakthrough or leadership program or something like that. What we find is that businesses try and pick their breakthroughs from this sort of, I guess, Chinese meal effect, Chinese menu. So this particular business here, you know, they had 3 breakthroughs. One breakthrough was to do with a big increase in sales from a new market. The second one was the fact they needed to appoint a new partner to support them on that. And the third one was recruiting new team members for a team in a different region. Those were the 3 for them that were wildly important. If they didn't do those 3, then nothing else mattered. It didn't matter that they'd introduced a new performance management system or restructured, or those were the 3 that needed to be there. What I would also urge you to think about when you're thinking about what are going to be your wildly important goals is also how you phrase them. So they're clear, so they're simple, so everybody can understand them. As an example, what we do is typically use a verb and a noun, and then from what to what by when. So generate or increase turnover by winning new customers in health sector from 0 to 500k by Feb 20. From what to what by when. Double sales of product X from 1 million to 2 million by March 20. Verb noun, raise external funding from 0 to 500k by March 20. Develop new market offering from idea to raise ship by December. Reduce costs 50k per month to 45k by November. Ramp up production from 150 widgets to 350. Boost quality in production team from 20 down to 5 by September 20. And then finally, maybe increase the sales team from 3 people to 8 people. So what I'm doing here is not just picking and thinking about how we select and filter out and just maybe pick 3 wildly important goals. It's also important how we articulate those goals. So it's really simple to understand. We can really get the performance gap that we've got to close, and by when. No excuses. So in this organization, I can go to anybody in that organization and ask them, what are your wildly important goals for this year? And they'll be able to tell me. One is about generating the turnover from this new health sector, and we're going to go from 0 to 500k by Feb 20. The second thing is raising external finance. The third thing is to do with developing new product operation. We've got to have ready to ship by December 20. Simple to understand, easy to communicate. Think about your organization. If I went into your organization right now and said, what are the wildly important things this business should be doing in the strategy for the coming year? How many of those will be able to tell me anything about your strategy, let alone anything about which are the wildly important? when we get into the strategy, what's even better is that I should be able to go to those same people maybe 2 or 3 months in and saying, how are you doing on that strategy? Are we on target or not on target across those 3 wildly important goals? And what's your role? What are you accountable for to drive those? So not just narrow the focus to get your wildly important goals, but also articulate those goals in a very clear, absolutely no chance for misunderstanding way, so that everybody in the organization understands what's wildly important and can get to work on it. So usually we might, if we had a little bit more time, we think about how we actually articulate these. So you'd be able to have the chance to pick your wildly important goals from what to, what, by, when. And then maybe sometimes when we have half days or full days, we get people to say, if you're saying yes to these, what are you saying no to? So from a strategic point of view, there's always too many good ideas to execute on. So sometimes it's worth noting what you're saying no to. So for example, I was working with a business the other week and they had their goals, and I got them to actually articulate what they were saying no to, which was for this year for them was they weren't going to go exporting this year because they need to focus resources somewhere else. And they weren't going to open a new office this year, even though it had been muted, because they need to focus on their wildly important. So that's about narrowing focus, wildly important goals. What we've got to do next in our second discipline is to take those wildly important goals and convert them into doable hows. We've got whats and we've got hows. Often in plans, strategies, business plans, we get lots of whats, but that's not the problem often. It's relatively easy to come up with a what. We want to grow our business by £500,000 and we want to generate £300,000 from a new exporting venture into the German market. Any fool can write down what. It's actually the hows that make it happen. And it's often the hows that aren't resourced, where we don't have the skills, or we haven't even actually highlighted them as a how. So what we work with our businesses to do is to actually articulate not only what their whats are, their wildly important goals, but for each of those wildly important goals, generate a minimum of 3 hows. So here's a business we worked with that was to do with, it was actually a cake manufacturer, this particular one. So they had 3 whats, and you can see verb, noun, from, what to, what, by, when. Increase sales to hotel chains from 100K to 350K by April 20. Increase production capacity from 500 units to 900 by May 20. Raise 200K investment from external sources. So those were the wildly important goals for this business. There were other things they could have done, but they narrowed the focus to these. Then, if these are the whats, then we worked with the management team to tickle out the hows. Again, only 3, not a 64-page business plan, only 3 hows for each what. So the drivers of increased sales to hotel chains were, for them, upgrade digital marketing strategy and website, design and launch a new cupcake wedding range, create 4 appointments every month with hotel catering managers. So those were the hows for increasing sales. For increased production capacity, it was to locate and move to a larger factory, successfully negotiate bigger, more cost-effective contracts, and recruit a new production manager. And then finally, what number 3 for them was to raise investment. So that involved them recruiting a stronger management team, creating a better business plan, and appointing corporate financial advisors. But all these are very measurable. All these are very doable, and they're all high level. So we've got whats, but we also need to state our hows. Because what I can do then is actually allocate each of those hows maybe out to different people in the team. So we delegate and empower people. You know, it's not just me that's got to do all the whats and all the hows. That'd clearly never work. But you'd be surprised how many leaders think it is their job to do everything. What we can do then is actually put our whats and hows into a single page plan format. So if I just quickly show you here, left-hand side, what we must do. So here are the three, this is different organisation. These are three different what's for another organisation. This was win and deliver some new contracts in Yorkshire, improve project quality rating, and recruit and build a new team. So you can see here for the, I'll say it's a sort of I guess it's a dusky sort of pinky purple colour. The what for number one, these are the three hows that drive that. So to win and deliver new contracts, they need to research the unmet needs, they need to secure a local partner, they need to launch a marketing campaign, and they need to build relationship with key decision makers. Those are the hows for what number one in purple, pink, brown, whatever it is. In blue, you can see the second what, improve project quality rating from 80 to 95. You can see there that the hows for those are implement new quality system, analyze, remedy all performance issues, establish and deploy training plan, instigate blitz teams. So you can see there the hows for what number two in blue. And then what number three in grey, recruit and build a team. You can see the what's there for that. Agree roles, person specs, engage with specialist recruitment agency, move to tailored premises, etc. So you can see for each of the different what's we have, in this case, we have four hows. What I'm going to do also is put the targets for each of those hows at the bottom along the horizontal. So for each of those hows, so for research, unmet needs and procurement process, the target is a presentation by 1st of the 2nd, 19, or secure long-term partner in place by 1st of the 4th. So each of the hows also has a target. Now, what we're also going to look at here is at the intersection of the what and the how, I'm going to describe whether it's a very relevant key driver of that what. So is the how that we're talking about a key driver, really relevant to drive that what? Or is it indirect? Is it a little bit of a driver but not much? Or is it no relationship whatsoever at the intersection? Then it's just a gap, it's just a space. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so if we take the first what, we know that those four hows all were selected to drive that what. So they all get a star because they're direct drivers of it. And the same for those four there, the blue ones, because they were the ones chosen for that one. And the same for those four there. They were chosen to drive the third what. So they get a star because they're key drivers. But the question here is, what relationship do those hows have with the other whats? Maybe that they weren't chosen for, or they weren't chosen for. So here's a quick example. If I look at this one here, if I look at implement new quality targets and systems, now clearly that was, as all the blue ones were chosen to drive what number two, but there's a relationship, albeit indirect relationship, with what number one. So implement new quality targets and systems was chosen for what number two, but it also is an indirect driver of what number one, win and deliver new contracts. And the same with the second one, analyze and remedy all performance issues. Interestingly, when we get to establish and deploy new training plan, that is also a key driver of recruit and build new Yorkshire team. And we can do the same here. Now, interestingly, Sue, in this case, I think it's the second what, secure strong local partner was chosen and is a key driver of what number one. But interestingly here is also a key driver of improve project quality rating, number two, and also recruit and build Yorkshire team, number three. We can also do the intersections for the grey ones as well. Why is this important? Well, we've got whats, we've got hows, we've got targets. Why do we need all these stars and circles, etc.? Well, the reason for that is the fact that I need to know from a resource point of view where the potential risks are. In this case, Sue, whose name is against the second how, that is a key driver of all three whats. If that goes wrong, then we're in trouble. The plan will dissolve. But I also see that Sue's also got other responsibilities for other ones as well. So I'd be looking at this plan and saying, wow, we need to support Sue, or have someone else support Sue, do some of those other ones, because we're very reliant on Sue in this case here. And if that one's not in place, then we have a worry. We can also red, amber, green these as well. So for each month, we can say if the how projects are on target, it's green. If they are maybe 75% or above in terms of being on target, then we would class them as amber. And if they're definitely 75% below performance or on target, we'd go red. So in this case, you can see in this, let's say it was month 2 or month 3, launch digital marketing strategy, go live date, obviously it's red. So therefore we need to focus on that one and actually maybe spend some of our time in our meetings focusing on that one rather than just going through each one at a time. So that's the what's and how's plan. We've narrowed down our focus for our wildly important goals. Those become our what's, but we need to articulate those in the right way, from what to what by when. And each what needs to have a number of hows. We need to think about what they are, and we need to present them on one page, not 60 pages. And that page needs to be articulating both what, hows, targets, and also, are we on target or not? The red, amber, green. And if I've got my particular team, let's say if I was the MD, what we can do is, if I said that Christopher was in my team and I'll allocate those 3 hows to Christopher, then if Christopher's a team leader, they become his what's. And inside his team, let's say for the sake of argument, Ian's in his team, and he might allocate those hows to Ian, and Ian, those become your what's, and you've got your hows. And that might even be a Gantt chart at that level rather than a single page plan. But you know, if I do what I'm meant to do and focus, and Christopher does what he's meant to do, and Ian does what he's meant to do, then the plan will look after itself. And that's called line of sight. That's called golden thread. That's everybody in your organization knowing what they've got to do, how they contribute to achieving the wildly important goals, so that everybody's working on the same page. Discipline number 3, keep a compelling dashboard featuring leading and lagging measures. So a lot of businesses will have thought about their goals. They might have even narrowed the focus. What they need to do then is what's and how's, and some people even do that. But what I would say is that, you know, to make it visual, to make sure people know how we're performing, get a dashboard, a visual one, maybe on a screen, but maybe on a board, or maybe on the wall, or somewhere where we can talk about it. You know, people play differently when they know the score. But if you're not keeping score, I remember one of the tennis players said, if you're not keeping score or you're not thinking about the score, then it's just a practice game. And that's true, isn't it? You know, keeping score is really important. Somebody said, somebody once asked me, I think it was a couple of months ago now, how do you, we were talking about motivating staff to achieve wildly important goals. And they said, how do you demotivate people? And I said, that's easy. It's a lot easier to demotivate than it is to motivate. I said, the easiest way to demotivate people is keep them in the dark and don't tell them anything. That's the best way. The mushroom sort of culture, for some of you know that. Just keep them in the dark and feed them BS. And that's the way to demotivate people, guaranteed. So the opposite of that is actually tell them what we're trying to do. Make it real, make it simple to understand, and then keep score. So we talk about a dashboard or a scoreboard. Think about your dashboard on your car. There's measures on that actually help you understand where you're at the moment. In this current point in time, what your speed is. At this current point in time, how much fuel you've got. Maybe the temperature. So these are all good things to know. You can look down and see where you're at now. However, there are also things on your dashboard, probably, that you don't see that often, which are probably warning signs. So when the oil light comes on, it's telling you, predicting, if you don't do something about this issue, oil in this case, then you're going to have a problem. Same with the battery light. It's actually forecasting, predicting things might go wrong if you don't do something about this. Stop the car and do something, take action. So we have lagging measures, which are essentially looking backwards, historical, and leading measures, which are measures that predict. Now, you guys have probably been in board meetings like me when it gets to the end of the month and people are presenting their results and they get to the end of the result, and you maybe have been in this position where you're the person sweating on the results, and you've got it thinking, oh my goodness me, it's getting towards the end of the month, and I just fingers crossed, and I hope and pray that the numbers are good for the end of this month. The end of the month, they come in and they're bad. And you've got to present them to your boss or your board or whatever. It's terrible, isn't it? It's just, the night before you're sweating on them, but that's all you can do. And then when the numbers come out and they're not where they want to be, what do you say? You say, well, they're not where we want them to be, but the numbers are what the numbers are to a certain extent. That's not, I get it, but that's not good enough. I want to know before then, if I'm the boss, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, are we on target or not? If we're not, what are we doing about it? Don't just sit there at the end of the month or the end of the quarter and say, we know what, we didn't make it. And I only found out last night when the numbers came through. It's a bit like driving your car down the motorway, just using your rear view mirror. So lagging measures tell you what you've achieved, reflects things that have happened, but they're often only reported too late. But they are relatively easy to set. Leading measures, well, they're more interesting because they help you predict what you're likely to achieve. What is the run rate of maybe the process, the pipeline, the number of people doing things? What's the weekly run rate of that? Is that on target to do your month end? They provide an opportunity to take corrective action, tracks your activities, and they give you the highest leverage on your wildly important goal, but they are more difficult to set. And that's why a lot of people fail to. But for those people who get things done, maybe even if you take nothing else out of today's webinar, the concept of leading measures and lagging measures is a really key difference that you guys might want to think about. So having a dashboard or a scoreboard that has both lagging measures, but also some leading measures, so you know whether you're on target or not. So in terms of sales, well, I guess your lagging measures are sort of revenue or total revenue for that month or that year or that quarter. But leading indicators could be, partway through the month, the size of the pipeline or the number of sales calls that have been made. They hint at what your month end or quarter might be. Customer indicators, well, lagging might be the revenue per customer or customer churn, how many customers you lost. But at the end of the, at the end of the month or the end of the quarter, you've got to report on how many customers have churned, you've lost. You can't do anything about it then. If it's 10, if it's 100, you can't do anything about it then. So what we need to be doing is logging or measuring maybe satisfaction rates or training hours or things like that. It's the same with supply chain. Delivery costs, on-time delivery, great measures, absolutely, but they're lagging. What leading indicators earlier in that month, in that week, could you put in there? Same with HR, staff turnover, number of staff, employee satisfaction every few weeks or every few months, training hours, or even football. I totally get it. If you're late to a football match, the first question you're going to ask, what's the score? And that's fine. And we need lagging measures like what the score is. Totally get that. But the final league position, the result at the end of the game, lagging indicators. Leading indicators, maybe at half time, you might want to be looking at percentage time spent in the opposition penalty box or percentage of possession or how many near goals you got, how many opportunities you created. Lagging, leading indicators. For me, you need both. And what you can do is, and this is a very quick example here, is this was a hotel company I was working with. Their wildly important goal was to increase revenue from 170,000 to 280 by December. So what they did, quite rightly so, was they created a cumulative target versus actual graph. So you can see here, in blue is their target cumulative for January to April. And in red is their actual. And you can see not doing very well. You can also see below, they got 2 lead measures here. And those lead measures, the first one wanted 3 quality site visits per team member per week. And you can see that actually they were failing miserably on that. They were meant to have 3 per person. And in March, as an example, January, February performance was terrible. March wasn't very much better. Only one of them actually got 3. So we know that cumulatively the numbers are going to be down. And the same for upsell the premium bar package. You know, get it measured, put a line on 70% because that's the target. But again, January, February, March, leading indicators will say to me that if they're that poor in January, February, March, then I would guess that maybe April and May, maybe even June are going to be low because they predict the lagging measures. Now, actually what happened was that the team picked up, and in April, May and June, both on the first lead measure and the second one, they started to achieve. So then what I know, if I'm in April and May, I can look my MD or look my funder in the eye and say, I know it's going to get better in May, June and July because the leading indicators are telling us that. We've affected it by some new actions. And indeed, that's what is going to happen. And for this organization, I could say August and September are going to be good as well because we've taken action on the lead measures. Okay. Final discipline, number 4, create a culture of accountability with a regular, wildly important goal meeting. So we could spend a lot of time on talking about culture, and it's quite a complex topic, but I guess it's, you know, if you can have the most impressive goals and plans and dashboards that you want, but ultimately if your culture is toxic, people can't be bothered, don't feel they're accountable, not really bought in for whatever reason, then you're really fighting against a really tough situation there. So we've got to get a culture of accountability with people. We've got to get people who understand what the goals are, know what role they're playing in it, what's and how's, and understand how we're performing that month. One of the key ways to drive your culture is, we found through our research, is a bit boring really, but it's actually having regular review meetings. Now, I feel a bit sort of sad saying that because it doesn't sound very sort of breakthrough-y, but actually for many businesses that are struggling to execute, some of them aren't having enough or the right sort of review meetings where we look at where we're at, are we on target or not? We've got the numbers, we've got leading and lagging indicators, we make decisions. And then people take accountability for those decisions, and we see where we're at with the numbers the week after. Has it worked? Has it not? What else do we need to do? We don't just sit there at the end of the month or end of the quarter and say the numbers are what the numbers are. So what I'm proposing here is a weekly WIG meeting, wildly important goal meeting. 45 minutes, same day. And preparation, I'm asking what 2 or 3 things I can do this week to impact on our lead measures. So I'm going to get people to report on their commitments, review the scoreboard, and then for me as the leader, I've got to clear a path. Clear a path to help people do what they've got to do. Sometimes when you're a leader and a manager, sometimes people are really struggling with things and it's a really difficult issue for them. But for you, sometimes it's fairly straightforward stuff and you can do it and you can help, and you should. So I suppose the key questions are around weekly, wildly important goal meetings. What can I do this week to impact on the lead measures? Remember, the lagging measures you can't do anything about. They are what they are, genuinely speaking. So all you can think about is actually at that wildly important goal meeting is look at where the numbers are for that week, and then look at your lead measures and what actions and different things you need to do to influence those lead measures, because that will drive your lag measures. So getting people to have some lead measures is important, but then also focusing on new, fresh actions to drive them. Review meetings. How do yours measure up? Usually a question I get asked a lot is what does a good review meeting look like? So I put this together, and again, this is a high bar. This is a tough one to go for, but I guess these are the 8 things I look for. First of all, that the meetings are regular and solely focused just on the wildly important goals. So we've only got 45 minutes generally, or an hour. So we keep it very focused on the wildly important goals. There's a place for small talk, maybe for the first minute or so, but then straight into the wildly important goals. Never, occasionally, or always for you. Our meetings are focused on moving the dials on the lead measures. Are we looking at the lead measures, or are we just bitching and moaning and whinging about the fact the numbers aren't where they should be? People are held to account for taking actions and keeping on track. So we develop a culture of say what you're going to do and do it. Make people, for me, rather than just accountable to me as the boss, I want people mutually accountable to people around the table. That, to me, gets things done far more than just being threatened by the boss, or people being threatened or feeling like you're letting your teammates down is a real motivation for a lot of people. Making successes are celebrated. Yeah, this is one we're not particularly good at. It's very easy just to keep sort of the struggle and the challenge of growing a business, but we need to celebrate successes and make sure that people report their problems and struggles openly. Think about your meetings. Are people open about their struggles? Some people are. They play the victim. Oh, poor me, etc., etc. But some people don't. Some people stay silent, and some people feel like it's their opportunity to blame everybody else. We have a triage system based to get us back on track. So triage is a bit like emergency wards, whereas if little Timmy's got a saucepan stuck on his head, but he's not in a lot of pain, he's stuck there at A&E, he will be seen in turn. But if something more urgent happens, then they will be seen before him. It's triaged. Think about that in terms of your plans and your measures and your objectives. Think about that in terms of the single page plan we had, what's and how's, and the targets and the stars and the triangle. But we also had red, amber, green along there, along the bottom, whether they were on target or not. So maybe at your next review meeting, think about really focusing most of the meeting just on the thing that's red, and use everybody brains around the table to convert that back to an amber or green. Maybe have we got people regularly coming to help each other? That teamwork, that ethic. And then finally, possibly the most difficult one, people leave the meeting more energized than when they went in. How many meetings, particularly I can think of in the last few months, that people are just drained when they walk out. They go, oh my goodness me, that was a tough meeting. But you're the leader, probably. So your role is to be, what is it Napoleon said? A leader is a merchant of hope. A leader guides people on a journey. So you've got to be there. So think about your game face. Think about how you're looking, how you're sounding. Are you energized? Or are you being a barometer for them to go, yeah, it's okay. Look, the boss looks like he's completely drained and he's almost about to give up. You've got to be there to energize them. That's part of your job description. So do they leave more energized or less energized after they spoke to you or after they've been at the wildly important goal meeting? So those are our 4 disciplines, a system of execution to withstand that whirlwind. So you're probably in a position whereby you're developing your strategy for this coming year. Think about building into that strategy how we execute. Think about building into that strategy, yes, some breakthroughs, because we've always got to grow. We've always got to continuously improve. I get that. But narrow the focus just to what's wildly important this year. What is the thing that actually, if this doesn't occur, then frankly, nothing else really matters. And can we convert those into what's and how's? Can we convert them onto a 1-page plan? So it's really simple and easy for everybody to see. Maybe we use the red, amber, green as our compelling scoreboard, or maybe we have a different scoreboard, but we feature leading and lagging measures. So we not only know what we've performed so far, but we can predict and we know if we're going to be off track. We do something about it. And finally, number 4, we create a culture of accountability. So people know what they've got to do, and they're prepared to go to meetings. And in those meetings, we review where we're at and we all help each other. But people take accountability for doing their part. They feel mutually accountable, not just to you as the boss, but to other people in their team. And if we can do those 4 things, then we can really execute on our business strategy for the coming year. Okay, so that was our presentation for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to come off mute and ask any questions. I know we've only got 2 minutes against our 2 o'clock deadline, so we just about come in time. But if you've got any questions, anything like that, please shout. If you're interested in implementing anything like this, there's support available, possibly through me or through my colleagues on the program. If you want to set something up like this, that's maybe a single page Watson House plan or a scoreboard, or thinking about how you execute.
Steve, yeah, it's Chris here. You know the forms that you used there, will we be able to get a copy of those?
Yeah, absolutely, no problem at all. Yeah, I'll send those. You'll get a copy of the. I'll send you a copy of the of today's slide deck, and also there's a recording of this as well, so you can rewatch if you want to, if you prefer the film to the book, as they say.
Cool.
That would be really useful as well to get a copy of those forms. And also, just to add, I've taken loads of notes, so it's no real questions, but I got some takeaways that I got from there about narrowing those targets, because I think we have too many, communicating those targets simply as well to the rest of the team, sharing your targets with everyone else to make sure they've all got the same linked targets was very good, and following up on those and checking everyone's got those with meetings and reports and things. So it's very useful. So thank you very much for that. Brilliant.
Thanks, Ian. And thanks, Christopher. Really appreciate it. So we'll send you a copy. I'll make sure we get a PDF copy of those slides over to you. Watch the recording. And as I say, if you want any more help, just contact us through the email, and we will be able to maybe even help you one-to-one if that's suitable as well.